This podcast is brought to you by the Arate Podcast Pantheon. Please head to aratemedia.org to see lots of other podcasts from our great friends. And if you would like to start your own podcast, they can provide you with all the resources to do so there. That's aratemedia.org. ARETE media.org. On with the show, Jordan?
With the show, and I will say, on my end, it kept doing that thing where you would get really quiet and really loud and really quiet. So I don't know if that's going to show up.
Oh, man. Why is it doing that? I don't understand why it's doing that. Hopefully it doesn't. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't. I don't know. Anyway, welcome to the Spur of the Moment podcast. Everybody, on today's show.
We're doing it on a Monday, guys.
Monday. Today's show. First up,
Justin,
as always, it's the news.
Do you want to tell them why we're doing it on a Monday?
Hold on. I'm getting there. Let me get through the intro first. Spur of the Moment podcast. First up is the news, including Shrek 5 is apparently happening. There's a Donkey movie. A new Hellboy trailer came out today. And there's a Terminator game apparently coming out. That's all news. That's all happening first. And then, yes, today we are doing the podcast on a Monday for a very special reason. And as always, I forgot. We always begin every podcast by reciting the Canadian national anthem. So, Jordan, if you would.
We
please,
do? Okay.
Please.
Oh, Canada. Our home and native land. True
patriot love. I can't. Stop. I thought I could. It's Canada Day, everybody. It's Canada Day. Welcome to Canada Day. And so today, in the second half of the show, we're going to be talking Canada. We've got some Canadian nostalgia for you guys. We're going to be asking the question, is this thing Canadian? How Canadian is this thing? How is it very Canadian? It's pretty Canadian. So yeah, come on by, learn some stuff about Canada. It's gonna be a good time.
Learn about Canada, eh? We're gonna have a good time going down to Tim Hortons, getting some.
No. That's the second half. It's too soon.
Oh,
it's too soon
okay.
Don't worry. That bullshit is coming. Anyway, I guess we could kind of meld it. Real quick. We could do a real quick new shit. We saw Inside Out 2. This weekend.
We did see Inside Out 2. That was a good movie.
It is very good. I really liked it. I don't know. I don't know if I could say I like it better than the first one. Do you like it better than the first one, or is it the same?
I don't.
Like the same.
I think I like it the same. To me, it's just a continuation of the first one. So everything that I like about it, it can only run because the first one built the world.
Yeah, and also it's just doing different things. Right, this one's funny. This one's like, it's so funny. Like I was crying. Jordan could attest. I had tears in my eyes. I was crying so hard.
I mean, he was laughing pretty. He was laughing pretty hard.
Oh my god, it was like a gut. Oh, it was so funny. Like I don't want to like I guess spoilers for this movie that's been out for a few weeks, but the her childhood show character who Anger's like, who are you talking to? And it's he's talking to a wall.
Camera pans and he's talking to a wall.
He's talking to a wall. And my other favorite is the fighting game character who has a sword, who doesn't use the sword, he just turns into a ball.
And he's in the secret vault. Funny. He's in the secret vault because he's her favorite, even though he had his powers are terrible, which is hilarious.
Oh, it was so funny. And yeah, man, it definitely still gets
the representation of anxiety is I think very accurate.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Panic attack. Yeah, man, it's really like experiencing every emotion at once. That's really what it's like.
An overload. It's an overload. Oh, and it's just, they do a really good job, and it's a really good movie. And also in terms of theater going experiences for the past little while, it was a good one. We didn't have a bunch of people talking and being obnoxious. It was very nice.
Fair, we went to a kids movie a week late, and we sat in the best, objectively the best seat. Okay. Spur of the moment from here.
Hot tip.
The best. I can't speak for American theaters, but certainly Canadian Cineplex ones. The best, objectively best place to sit in the theater now, that corner. Objectively, it doesn't matter which side. It can be the left or the right side, but
especially if you're on the if you're on the inside, then you don't have anyone on your right, you don't have anyone behind you, you don't have you usually, depending on the movie, don't have anyone in front of you because they haven't been that busy, and
Yeah,
the only person that's beside you on your left is like me. It's Justin. It's the person I went with,
yeah,
and if he's too
yeah,
loud, I just
exactly.
elbow him.
Yeah, and then for me, it's like, yeah, it's just the aisle, and then yeah, the person across from me, like when we did this the first time, she was on her phone the whole time, but the lights from the aisle like sort of like obscure it a little bit, so it's not quite as obnoxious. It's still obnoxious, but it's less obnoxious.
And you're
Um,
just far away from
yeah,
people.
and also in our theaters, like you get all this extra leg room. It's really sweet. So yeah, from
That
now
yeah,
on,
that too.
back corner, and honestly, I'm pretty sure it would go for the other corner as well. I think would be equally good.
I think so.
Um, so
Might be better. We haven't
I've
tried it.
been kind of kind of stalling because I pulled this article that says what emotions didn't make it into Inside Out, and I've been kind of trying to on the sly, not very well.
I saw an interview where the creators were like they wanted to make jealousy, and jealousy would have been a twin of envy, and no one would be able to tell them apart, and that would be the joke.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't this now that I've read it a bit more thoroughly. It said shame and
And
guilt,
oh, there was
shame and
guilt.
guilt.
Yeah, that I had heard those too. There was one other one that he said in that interview, which I can't remember, but the jealousy one was the one that was that stuck out to me.
But shame and guilt. See, I to me, and this is my number. I only really have
To
one
me,
criticism,
shame,
and
shame, shame,
ennui just didn't
shame,
work for me. That was my one thing.
shame.
Ennui did not work.
Shame would kind of to me just be the same as embarrassment though.
But it could be a more expressive version of
And yeah,
embarrassment.
I agree. I hate ennui. I think it's the worst.
I'm just looking for an emotion to swap out for ennui because I just don't think ennui works. Not for me. Maybe I don't know. What was interesting though is they reportedly brought in like teenage girls to like critique it. So maybe teenage girls or teenagers are like, yeah, ennui. We experience ennui. Like, okay.
Okay.
Um,
But I doubt they call it ennui.
no.
I guarantee you the emotion those
Again,
teenage girls call it is apathy.
it just feels like ennui exists purely to facilitate the gag about the sarcasm. Just make
No,
ennui sarcasm.
on,
Sarcasm
on,
is kind of an
ennui
emotion.
exists. Ennui exists so they can make him French.
Yes, but I mean,
Otherwise they would have just called him apathy or boredom.
right, but even then, that character as a function, I still think even if you change it to boredom or apathy, it's still equally as vague and nebulous. Like when he takes over,
No,
it's just it doesn't. To me, it's the same. It's the same effective. Like it's just a synonym. Like I think a whole different. I don't know what. I just yeah. I don't know. I don't think just sarcasm. I think just blanket sarcasm. If you wanted to do sarcasm, have sarcasm be one of the emotions. Because I don't know. I don't know that boredom
but
is that certainly.
sarcasm isn't an emotion.
But neither is boredom.
I mean, boredom is a state of a
It's
being,
exactly
which would be the same as joy. You can be joyful.
right, but you can be sarcastic.
No, but that's not an emotion.
I mean, to me, it's equally as much of
That's
emotion as boredom is
I don't
as a
agree.
concept, and also and how
I
they
don't agree with
conveyed in the
that.
movie. I just don't think it conveyed well. They
I don't.
again,
We need to
it's
state here.
functionality in the movie.
I don't disagree. I hate ennui. I think it's the weakest character that they introduced.
It's too
We're
vague of a
we
concept.
we agree. And that's kind of the point.
Like it's like embarrassment and anxiety were so.
I
Yeah, I
think
don't
it.
know. It
I
just
think
didn't work for me.
it bothers me because like okay in the first one you have the basic ones which you know any kid gets, and then the second one is kind of she's getting older, but like anxiety is a thing that's talked about nowadays so kids would have at least heard
Yeah.
of it. who who I didn't even know what ennui was until I had to look it up.
The funniest.
No child or teenage girl at that like 13
I
is
don't think
gonna
they
know what
would.
ennui
I
is.
don't think they would. And like there's a lot of adults who didn't like I saw so many videos when this came out of people who didn't know how to pronounce ennui. Like
Yeah, no, they like the creators had to come out and explain what it was because
yeah,
nobody knows what ennui is, which is
exactly.
what makes it a stupid emotion to choose.
Um um
There's better and more interesting things, especially for a 13-year-old teenage girl
yeah.
that you could have chosen.
Um um sorry, I had a thought. I was gonna nope. Other than when they make the third one, adult Riley. That's the next step. That's the next. For me, I've already said it. 18. Like she's just graduated high school because these movies for her, for Riley's story, seem to be about transitional moments in her life. So this one is start of high school. So to me, logically, just makes sense. Like start of university, start of college. Like she's unsure
Yeah,
about which direction she's gonna take her life. Like to me, when you become an adult and make it about the transition of um the joy and how do they become the adult emotions, like how does that because
and
that seems to be what this movie was kind of about in a way.
and yeah, we talked about this after the movie, and again, yes, I think they could do that, but I also I could see them doing blah, 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 blah. I could see them doing a third one where she's 16 and then a fourth one where she's 18. I think
Sure,
that just
but this feels like the kind
that
of movie that's
that
going to
that
be like the kind of franchise that's like, we better not risk the assumption that we're going to get a fourth one, let's just put it all in the third one. And I feel like this feels
Mhm.
like that's the one where that, and I just don't,
I
what
feel like
story do you tell with her at 16?
If Disney was, it was a more hands off kind of thing, then I would agree. But I could see Disney pushing for 4 movies. This movie
Also,
does well enough. As for what they would do, you would do this. She gets her license. She thinks that she like is hot shit. And doesn't wants to be viewed as an adult, but she's not an adult. Like it's a typical. You do
yeah, but
exactly what you do exactly what you think you do with a 16-year-old girl.
yeah, but again, all the stuff that would be interesting to tell about being 16, Disney would be too afraid to do. Yeah, I guess you could make it about her getting and being about transitional, but this has always been like the first one was her as a child, second one was her as a teenager. So it just kind of makes more sense to me that the third one would be about. And also, I saw a lot of comparisons to Toy Story, and that's where Toy Story 3 is, right? Toy Story 3 is Andy's 18, he's graduating, he's moving on to university or on to college. Like that's what. So if this is indeed about
Yeah,
Toy Story
but
3,
the difference
that's where
between
the
this
logic is.
the difference between this and Toy Story, though, is Toy Story wasn't about Andy. It was about, I mean, it was, but in the larger scale of things, it was about the toys. And the toys are objects that can then be transferred to a new character, which allows
Yeah.
the franchise to continue to go on, which is exactly what they did. Inside Out doesn't have that luxury. Inside Out is about the emotions in Riley's head. And once you get Riley to 18 or adulthood or whatever, her story's over. And they don't want that. They want to continue
I
this
don't
as long as they can.
I don't think so. Not with this one. This one, I think this one is probably again. One more. I think this franchise has one more in it. And
I could
maybe
I
then
I
maybe
could
like you
believe
you
that,
said
but
you do the teenage stuff as like shorts like that. I can see
yeah, I could see them doing either or
like her
both.
dating, all that
Um,
stuff is all like you do it in 2 minute shorts on Disney Plus that nobody
but
watches,
I just
or a show like
I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to do 4 movies.
I would be very surprised if this is just not a four movie. I don't think it's a four movie franchise. Like people were
I
surprised to see a second one, let alone a third one, but they should absolutely make a third one.
But yeah, I want to state I don't disagree. I would probably go with 18. It's just it's simpler.
Um, apparently, um, Street Fighter 3 or the Street Fighter movie is coming out March 20th, 2026.
Another one?
Yeah, no, that's the one that was the one that they announced recently. So it's the new one.
I okay.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
There's a Street Fighter movie coming out, and it's coming out on that date.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. It had.
I'm
Yeah,
not really a big Street Fighter guy, so it doesn't really.
yeah. I mean, it's gonna be about Ryu and Ken and how they trained under that
I
guy.
mean,
It's what it's gonna be about.
it usually is.
I sent you that trailer for that Batman show. That looks pretty good.
Yeah, it looks really good. It
Yeah,
looks really, really good.
it's
I'm excited for that.
it's like the animated series got a facelift. That's what it looks
Yeah.
like.
I mean, from what I could tell, it looks like it's made by the same guy. So
It is. It's produced by Bruce Timm. Yeah, that looks good.
yeah.
Apparently, it's going to be darker than the animated series, which in animated series terms basically means it'll be PG-13, and they'll say an occasional swear, and they might be some blood. That's
Which I'm okay with.
which I'm okay with. But yeah, it looks like it's like early Batman. They're still not trusting Batman, and they're giving it the like, oh, the villains are all like have regular looking people vibes to them. I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll give it a chance. It's on Amazon, which means that
I will be watching the shit out of it.
if it's on Amazon, which means I will be able to watch it, and I won't have to seek it other way. The set photos for Superman have kind of been coming out, and boy howdy, does the costume look better not in the official photos we saw. In like the set photos, it actually looks pretty good.
On a scale of Batman versus Superman to Superman, how much like Superman would you say he looks like?
Superman.
Oh,
Superman.
good,
Yeah.
good, good.
Also,
So you're
apparently,
gonna do
Mr.
it.
Terrific is also in it, and I saw something about Ultraman. So some wild shit happening
Okay,
on Superman. Yeah.
well
I've
that's a thing.
I've been avoiding the set photos, but there's been a bunch of them, and they all look pretty cool. Apparently, Jordan, according to Eddie Murphy, they're making Shrek 5, and he's already recorded it. He's done the
Oh,
audio. He's done the voice work for it, and apparently,
uh,
yeah, they're
I
the
thought I thought they killed that with Shrek Forever After.
no, well, no,
I thought we would never return to that franchise ever
I
again,
see,
other
Jordan.
than Puss in Boots.
Jordan, if you recall, at the end of the last Puss in Boots, there was that post-credit stinger where Puss in Boots is like, "Oh, I'm gonna go visit old friends," and you see the far, far away sign. It's setting up Shrek 5.
Now that you've said that, I remember that. I remember it, but until this moment where you mentioned it, I did not
And I
remember
was
it.
like, they need to make Shrek 5, not tell anybody, and make it in the animation style of that movie because that movie was really good. And apparently they are. Apparently they've
I
already
mean,
begun. They've already begun voice work on it.
okay, cool, I guess.
And according to Eddie Murphy, there's also going to be a Donkey movie, which feels
Huh,
like five
okay,
years too late.
who asked for that? Who asked for that? Why?
Eddie
No.
Murphy, I'm guessing, but it just feels like 5 years too late.
Feels like 10 years too late.
I guess 10 years too late. No, I mean it's had the Shrek franchise had a pretty like successful out of movie kind of success with specials and stuff and merchandising and stuff. So I could see maybe 5 years ago, but I don't know, a Donkey Solo movie now. It's like that feels like something you do post Shrek 2.
I don't see a Donkey Solo movie ever. Like even at the height of
No.
Shrek, Donkey wasn't the good part of that. He
No.
was a supporting member of that, but like I didn't watch that and go like, "Oh man, Donkey's my favorite character and I want to watch a movie all about him and what? How he started talking, how
I'm
he
guessing,
got
yeah,
his groove back, how
probably a
he
prequel
lives
movie.
his life in far, far away. Like what exactly is it going to be about? What interesting story is there to tell about Donkey from Shrek?
I don't know, but also by that same token, I said all that stuff about Puss in Boots, and his movies were pretty good. So, you know,
Yeah, but he at least has the
anything can
air
be
of an
good.
he at least has the air of an action hero about him. Like
Yeah,
he did action
I
stuff
guess you could
in
do
the Shrek
just a
movies.
comedy. I guess. Yeah, the only thing that comes to mind is how did Donkey start talking? That's really the only one that comes to mind. And I'm like, nah, I'm okay. I'm good. I don't need that.
Questions nobody asked or answers nobody asked questions to Alex for
Yeah,
500.
yeah. Welcome back to answering questions nobody asked. Um,
Um,
so Jordan, there's a clip. They revealed a clip. It's coming out. It's coming soon. The Rick and Morty anime. Jordan, how do you feel about the Rick and Morty anime?
yeah, I never really liked the short. I don't get it.
I like the short. I'm excited.
I don't get it.
I'm excited. I think it'll
I
be
don't I don't look
pretty
I don't
all
look at
right.
Rick and Morty and think, oh boy, that needs an anime adaptation.
I
Like
think
I don't.
everything needs an anime adaptation. Everything needs an anime
No,
adaptation.
no.
Um, I don't know. I think it
Eh.
looks all right. I mean, if it's easy to find and it's not, I don't have to seek it out with any real difficulty. I'll check it out. Um, yeah, I
But
like
I mean,
that.
to
I
be
like the
fair,
implication that
I haven't watched. To be fair, I haven't watched actual Rick and Morty for like 2 seasons, through 2, 3 seasons, because it's difficult to find it. I'm not willing to put the effort in.
yeah, it's honestly pretty good. But yeah, no, it's fair. It is difficult to find, and most of the time, I don't want to put the effort in either. So I get it. I understand that.
Um, but for like the anime, yeah, I just like, is it our Rick and Morty? Is it a different one? If it's a different one, they die.
It's
Like
Rick say what?
in terms of in terms of the Rick and Morty cinematic universe, in the one where evil Morty leaves, all the Ricks and Mortys die.
Yeah.
So anything that happens to them in this show doesn't really matter because we know they die. So who cares?
Well, I mean, not all of them because obviously Infinite Universe, but yeah, they no, it's Rick. I know it's Rick C-137. They call him Rick C-137 at least once. That's him.
Okay, I don't get it. I don't
I'll
understand
let
who
you
this is
know.
for.
It's for me because I want to watch it. Apparently, the Transformers 1 will be 90 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes.
That's the new animated one?
Yeah, a nice tight 90 minutes, which
Okay, I'm good with that.
I'm a big fan of that. Loving that.
We don't need like, a bunch of 3-hour movies. No, I'm old. I like
I'm
having
good.
nice tight
A
movies.
nice tight hour and a half. I'm good with that. That's good. I'm okay with that. Yeah, there's a new Terminator game coming out
For
called
PlayStation 5?
I think so, yeah, or NPC it looks like.
Is it
Um
made by the same people that made the RoboCop one?
Maybe Nacon Studio.
I don't know. You'd have to look up who made the
I'm not sure,
RoboCop one.
but it looks pretty sweet.
Because
It's a
like when we played the RoboCop one, I do remember us saying, "Man, the guys that made this should make like a Terminator." I
yeah,
think I said that
it's
should make like a Terminator one.
it's an open world Terminator game where it takes place
Really?
in the future, and it's about you running away from the Terminator, and
So it's kind of just that Mad Max game.
no, because the Mad Max game is a third person game.
You said this was open world though.
Yeah, but it's first person.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, yeah.
Immediately less interested.
I mean, I could be down for escaping from.
I mostly just mean I'm not a big first person shooter game person.
Fair. That is fair. Yeah. And then finally, Jordan, today, it's not a long news day today because there was no news that was very interesting. But that's okay. There's a new Hellboy movie coming out, and the trailer came out today. And boy, howdy, Jordan.
Live action?
Live action, yeah. And
okay.
It looks like dog shit. It looks bad. It looks really bad. I don't know if you remember, I did the previous one on the show and I said he really gets lost in the prosthetics. Well, this has the opposite problem where he has like no prosthetics, so he just kind of looks like a guy in red makeup who doesn't really look like Hellboy. And I'm like, why isn't this animated? Just make this franchise animated. This franchise would be so much more successful if you made it animated. Like, clearly, it's not working in live action.
I mean, I have to dispute that because I watched if you recall, for this, I watched a couple of the animated ones, and it's really not any more successful than that medium either.
That was straight to DVD. I'm talking theatrical.
He's kind of just a boring character.
I don't know. Maybe his comics are good, but just like, well, no, that's not fair. I don't think he's a boring character. I like the 2019 movie. I'm just saying, he just doesn't look good in live action. I don't know why. They have this continued insistence on doing him practically, but I don't think it's ever looked good. And people are like, oh, the OG one from the original movies looks good. I'm like, no, I don't think it does.
If they're gonna do a live action one, they should marvel it up and use some CG.
Yeah, get him in that CGI suit. I'm sure someone out there will hate me for saying that, but I don't care. I don't care. With that,
I gotta be honest. I'm not a big Hellboy guy, so I really, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, Hellboy could give two shits about his movies.
Care less. I'm sure
I'm gonna receive some flack for that.
So with that, let's move into the sponsorship section of the podcast, Jordan. And today's sponsor, until at the very least the end of the month, who knows, maybe longer. One Weekend at Horrorland. Okay, we cannot stress enough to you all the reasons why you need to go back this Kickstarter. We've already been there. So today I'm just gonna play you a few advertisements. I think I'm gonna play the two. One of them is coming off of TikTok, so I apologize. It's going to look like crap. But enjoy those, and then we'll come back. And then Canada Day special, everybody.
Goosebumps crew, I'm Avery Jones. I was the puppeteer behind Slappy and Goosebumps and Haunted Halloween. And I'm here to tell you about something I'm really excited about. One Weekend in Horrorland. The first of its kind convention for Goosebumps lovers, Goosebumpers, Goosebumpians, happening November 1st through the 3rd in Cincinnati, Ohio. Other people you know from the Goosebumps realm will also be there. There'll be autograph signing, photo ops, there'll be panels, plenty of goosebumpy goodness for you to wrap your claws around. And yes, he will be there. Who, Jack Black? But here's the thing, this con can't happen without your help. Head over to Kickstarter and check out all the tiers. You only have until July 30th to register, so head over and pledge to this one-of-a-kind event that's sure to give you, oh, what's the word? Goosebumps. Is that alright? Do it once more, with feeling. Hey there, Goosebumps crew. I'm Avery Jones. I was the puppeteer behind...
Let's play again. We don't want it to play again. That is ad number 1, and just because it's Canada Day special, we're going to play the other one.
Hey there, Goosebumps fans. Are you ready for the ultimate horror-filled adventure? Well, listen up, because I got some exciting news for you. As a cover artist for the Goosebumps franchise, I've seen firsthand how this amazing series has captured the hearts of readers for years. And now it's time to bring our spooky world to life like never before. Introducing One Weekend at Horrorland, the biggest Goosebumps convention ever. But here's the catch, we need your help to make it happen. That's right, we're calling on all you diehard Goosebumps fans to join us on our Kickstarter campaign and help donate towards this incredible event. With your donations, we'll transform One Weekend at Horrorland into a mesmerizing celebration of all things Goosebumps. You'll have a chance to meet some of your favorite authors and artists, dive into some thrilling interactive experiences, and even get your hands on some limited edition Goosebumps merchandise. Trust me, it's going to be epic. Don't miss out on this exciting opportunity to become a part of the Goosebumps family. So head over to our Kickstarter page and let's make One Weekend at Horrorland a reality. Save the date and let's make this convention a sleeves-turning success. Thanks.
Okay, we're back. We're back. Oh my goodness, I'm never gonna be good at that. But yes, go check out One Weekend at Horrorland. Seriously, it's so cool. They got I'm sure you saw in the promos, but they got Cal Dodd, Tim Jacobus, shit, Tim Jacobus, and much more. My mind went completely blank there. I apologize. Anyway, One Weekend at Horrorland. Check them out. Check out the Kickstarter. We're gonna have that in the description. You know, we're moving, we're grooving. Time to move on with the show, Jordan, right?
Yes, Justin. It's time to move on with the show.
Don't patronize me, you prick.
I'm not patronizing you. Not at all.
Happy Canada Day, everybody. Oh, Canada, our home and native land. It's time to learn about Canada, everybody. We live in Canada. We're from Canada. We're from Western Canada, which, as I learned this week, not many people have heard of, apparently. Because in these movies, it's pretty much like Toronto. Like, that's where they're going. That's where everything's happening.
Not for one of mine.
Let's do some rapid fire, Jordan. Where would you like to begin with your rapid fire?
I've watched Scott Pilgrim, not the animated show, the live action one that came before. And it takes place in Toronto. Funny that you say Toronto. Yep. Because it takes place in Toronto.
That movie's funny because a lot of people don't really realize it's so Canadian, but Canada isn't really part of its identity, and it's like
it is in the manga, but not so much in the movie.
No, they kind of, other than it really taking place in Canada, there really isn't anything.
I mean, and the fact that they a lot of the guys burst into coins, like toonies and loonies and stuff.
Loonies and toonies. I want to know if
and all the dimes and stuff too, but you know.
I want to know if there's a new show and if in the comics they ever explain why they burst into coins. That's what I want to know.
I mean, because it's based on video game iconography.
That makes sense.
I think it's just a thing.
I mean, the in-universe reason for when people get killed. I
think it's just the way their world works. You know, when you get into a fight and lose, you burst into coins as sunrise, sunset.
That is true. That is true.
I don't actually know. I could probably look it up, but I can't be bothered. But it has people you know.
It has people in there that you recognize. That's Michael Cera, Brandon Routh. Brie Larson.
The rest.
I can't remember. I was gonna do one more. Anyway, is that it? Was that it for Scott Pilgrim?
It's fun. I like
How
it. It's good.
how Canadian?
Anyone who
Would you say it's
how
Canadian, Jordan? How Canadian on its scale?
I would say it is because it takes place in Toronto and you can get pizza and they reference like Canadian
So Jordan,
based things.
Jordan, this is the scale we're gonna
Also,
grade it on.
also, Scott Pilgrim, the 22-year-old, is dating the 17-year-old high schooler.
Yuck
That's a
and
weird
gross.
thing. That's a weird thing. And the movie like does appropriately shame him for it, but
Also doesn't.
um, but also doesn't enough.
So Jordan, the scale is going to be it's going to be from bad Canadian stereotype to just like regular person, regular Canadian person. That's the scale.
1 being regular, 7 or 10 being mocking.
Being stereotype. Yeah, yeah. Let's do that.
4.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I agree. I agree. That seems fair. That seems fair. Um, so
fairly regular, sprinkled with a little bit of Canadianism.
Okay. Okay. So for my first rapid fire, it's gonna be a rapid fire because I'm just gonna mush a bunch of shit all together. And we're just gonna do a quick we're gonna do a quick journey through some Canadian television. We're gonna do specifically children's Canadian television. I got a couple. I got Theodore Tugboat. Jordan, you remember Theodore Tugboat?
Of course I do. What kind of Canadian would I be if I didn't remember that?
I don't know. That's
Yes,
the question.
yes, that's right. I'm now shaming any Canadian that doesn't know this obscure children's show that existed in the 90s.
That would be my first question would be is it obscure? Like number one, do Americans know it? Number two, do Canadians know it? And I mean, it was on CBC. It very much takes place in Newfoundland. So is it one of those things where like on Eastern Canada is it way more popular than out here in the West? Like I'd be so fascinated by this.
Now, see, I can't answer this. This is going to have to be an audience question because I watched it as a kid.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I mean, it's for those who haven't seen Theodore Tugboat. It's basically a Thomas the Tank Engine knockoff. Like right down to there's a narrator. Yeah, there's a little harbor there,
and they use models.
They use models. Yeah, except for it's boats. Instead of trains, it's boats. And he's very much a character that people are familiar with. Tugboat. So Jordan, Canadian?
Yeah.
Very Canadian, right? Okay. Dudley the Dragon. Remember Dudley the Dragon?
That's one that like I remember it, but I don't have strong I have strong memories of the Tugboat one. I don't have strong memories of this one.
I have strong memories of watching it, not the show itself, because I watched about it at like half an episode. 2 half-an episodes, and I turned it off because it wasn't very good. And like not even like not very good. Oh, it's a kid's show. I'm an adult and this is not for me. Like I can appreciate Sesame Street for its artistry. This is just lazy. The puppet's bad. The voice is bad. Like the lessons they learn are like basic and just not very. It's not delivered in a way that's very interesting. It could be that I was watching a shitty YouTube like clip of it. Maybe when I was a kid I liked it better, but I was like, this isn't very good. And then my final.
So is it Canadian? How Canadian is it?
Yeah, in the sense that it's very because we really like to knock off America. Like that's our big thing. Canada loves to take American ideas and package them in a cheaper form. So in that regard,
they would say that they are our bigger brother. I wouldn't because that's really looking down on us and do better America. But they would say that
like in the sense that this is Sesame Street for Canadians on a budget, on a public access budget, and it looks like shit. In that regard, yes, it's very Canadian. And then finally, I had to watch it because of one of yours, but Beast Wars.
Beast Wars!
Beast Wars was incredible to me because it's like I cannot believe because it's made by not very Canadian. We're gonna get that out of the way. Not very Canadian. Other than it's made by a company called Mainframe.
In Vancouver.
Based in Vancouver, and the fact that I think it was Hasbro. I think Hasbro owned toy Transformers at this point, but and I think the Beast Wars line already existed. Somebody fact check me on that, please. But the fact that they let this random Canadian studio just kind of do whatever they want with the franchise for a few years. No, I'm not even just including Beast Wars, but also Beast Machines. They kind of were just like, yeah, so the Transformers are actually part of a weird techno-organic war with the planet. I was like, oh, all right. cool, I guess.
I mean, from what I know of the behind the scenes stuff, that's like the Beasties or the one where they're on Cybertron.
Yeah.
That stuff had a lot of stuff that was hard to get pushed past.
Yeah, no kidding, because it's bad.
I mean, yeah. So yeah, I'm sure by that point, Hasbro might have been regretting their choices. But then again, they're a toy company, and these shows were creating toys for them to
Yeah,
make.
they
So
sold
really,
toys.
at the end of it, they probably didn't care what the stories were, as long as they just kept pumping out new forms for them to make toys of that people would buy, and
Oh.
people did buy them, because I remember some of our friends
yeah, we
growing
had
up
them.
having some of
Oh
them.
yeah. Oh yeah. And then just also the characters on that show are dumb. They're all very stupid. They're like, what?
A lot of them are.
There's this early mystery in the show where it's like, which planet are they on? But they scan the dominant life forms, and they find cheetah, rat, gorilla, T-Rex, and all living on the planet at the same time. So it's like, oh, it's weird how this mysterious planet has Earth-based life forms. Could it be Earth? Nah, it couldn't be Earth. And then you find out, like, the second episode, that the Predacons were looking for Earth. So it's like they were looking for Earth, but nah, couldn't be Earth. Couldn't be Earth. George, do you have any weird Canadian television show you like to reminisce about while we're in weird Canadian television?
Oh, I mean, you did one of them before, Nihilus the Sandman.
Oh yes, nice. That one's really good.
Was Deke? Because I'm too lazy to look this up. Was Deke Canadian?
No, I don't think so. I think Deke was American.
Okay. I mean, you've covered a lot of them there. I mean, there's Elliot and Moose was a funny one.
Elliot
I remember growing up.
Pippi Longstocking, that was Canadian as well. I don't know if I said that.
Caillou, I believe, is Canadian. The kid that everybody loves to hate.
So I tried a bit to read into them, but it was really dense. There's a company in Canada. I think they're a production company, or they're part of the government or something, called Telefilm. And they like produce everything Canadian. Like, if you're watching the credits, I'm sure you probably saw that, like, they were in almost everything I watched at the end of it. And I think they also own Nelvana. So a lot of the animation we grew up watching. So, like, I don't know if you remember, like, Franklin, Little Bear.
Oh yeah. Pingu,
Rupert, I believe. Pingu, I believe. Yeah.
Pingu, I know is Canadian, because one of my childhood friends' dads worked in the television broadcasting, and he worked on Pingu. Like, he produced it. He put it out. He's a friend that you know.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't want to say his name.
No, yeah. They also did the Card Captors dub. That was Nelvana as well. Yeah.
There's Cyber 6.
Yeah, Nelvana did that as well. So yeah, so like if you've ever seen the logo Nelvana, it's probably in some way produced or made in Canada. Just so you know.
Good to know.
Yeah, but yeah. We had lots of weird. We love knocking off. So a lot of our shit is just knockoffs of like shit from America. So yeah, you mentioned Elliot Moose, which is another Sesame Street knockoff. Or Barney. It's even probably more accurately Barney. It's probably
Fred Penner.
Fred Penner, which is just Canadian Mr. Rogers. I
would argue that Mr. Dress Up is Canadian Mr. Rogers.
Okay, but Fred Penner came from Mr. Dress Up. So it all goes back to Mr. Rogers.
So we had two Mr. Rogers.
Yeah. But if guy who talks to the camera, and he's just a guy. Like that's my thing with Mr. Rogers and Mr. Dress Up and Fred Penner. That's just a guy. He's just a guy.
They're just good guys.
They're just
good
guys
people.
who you would trust with your kids, and there's just nothing wrong with them. And it was
Yeah.
That's our brief trip through Canadian television. I don't know. Oh, we didn't even talk about. We were going to talk about our weird Canadian PSAs. You know what? Let's do it now, and then I'll turn it into a short. Does anyone remember those weird Canadian PSAs? Jordan, what's your favorite Canadian PSA?
I mean, for me, it's always going to be the Canadian house hippo.
How could you not love the Canadian house hippo?
I wanted one growing up. I remember, like, all of us kids thought it was a real thing, and we all wanted a house hippo.
I mean, don't you put it in your mouth? Don't you put it in your mouth?
In your mouth. Or stay alert, stay safe.
Is that one Canadian?
I think so.
Oh,
or there's the... that one. Yeah, I remember that one. The little girl's chasing the boy.
I remember that one. I'm a TV. I can show my TV.
I'm just a TV. You're the one with choices. You can go outside, see the world. You can do this, that. Well, what do I know? I'm just a
TV.
TV. You're the one
Yeah.
with choices.
Yeah, I'm just a TV.
Or
Or
hey, someone let the cat out again. Da, 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 da,
or
da, da.
the mice with the mouse trap. You can't touch the mouse
Oh,
trap.
we
Make
should
sure.
we shouldn't touch that. We have to tell mom and dad about that.
Yeah. Weird
Oh,
Canadian
I get to.
PSAs.
But it looks so tasty. Yeah, but we don't know what it is. And if you don't know what it is, you should probably talk to an adult
Probably
about it.
shouldn't
Oh,
touch it.
I got to tell first.
I'm
Or
trying.
I am Astrar from Planet
I
Danger.
could put my
I
arm
can
back
read.
on. You
I
can't.
can. Yeah. So many good ones.
I could
So
put my
many
arm back
good
on.
ones.
You can't. I'm
Those are just the
Flarflar
ones
from the
that.
planet Flea Flarp. I could put my arm
tho-
back on. You can't.
Those are just the ones that immediately come to the top of my head. There's dozens and dozens,
Oh,
and I'm sure future Justin can make some sort of like compilation and compile them together and put it in here.
wow, you're putting a lot of faith in Do It. That's
Do
right.
it.
That's right. I could see you, Justin. I could see you there. You're scrolling through right now. You're editing this later on. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah, make
Do
that.
it.
I know you don't want to. Do it.
Do it.
Do it. Someone leave a comment
Do it.
saying do it.
Do it.
They're leaving it right now. Do it.
Do it. They might be doing it. They might not.
Jordan, what's your next rapid fire?
My next rapid fire is The F Word, the movie where Daniel Radcliffe is kind of a conniving backstabber, and still gets the girl.
I remember that movie. That's one of those movies. I remember it. I remember there's something about it that I didn't like. I do recall being like Daniel Radcliffe needs to do more comedies because he's very funny. But there's something about it. I don't really. I just.
Oh yeah.
I remember it.
Also Adam Driver's in it, and
Yeah.
I think his girlfriend / wife is the girl from How I Met Your Mother.
Oh yeah. That's the one where he's like, I'm about to eat these nachos.
Yeah. After post sex nachos.
Post sex nachos.
But yeah, I mean, it's yeah. Daniel Radcliffe is a British person in the movie, so that he doesn't have to like try and do a not British accent.
So Jordan.
It takes place in I believe Toronto.
Oh, okay. I was gonna be my next question. How Canadian is it?
I think it does. That was like beginning of the week, Jordan. Following week, Jordan is having a hard time specifically remembering, but I believe so.
Interesting. So it's pretty Canadian, is what you say.
I just know that yeah, he's her quote unquote her friend the entire time, even though he wants to be with her, and then, tries to break up her from the person she's with, and then gets the girl.
What a prick.
I'm just saying.
What a prick.
But that's the F Word. It's a movie which is okay and is, it's fine.
My next one.
What's your next one, Justin? Tell me more about Canada.
My next one. We've talked about on the show before, but I wanted to come back at it from the perspective of being a Canadian and talk about South Park the movie, because during times have changed. Our kids are getting worse. They won't obey
their parents. They just want to fart and curse.
George, should we blame the government?
Or should we blame society?
Or should they
blame the images on TV?
No, Jordan.
No.
Blame Canada.
We need to blame Canada.
Jordan, they're not even a real country anyway.
They're not. I mean, they are. They are a real country.
Not even a real country anyway.
No, but it is. We can't be putting that out into the world. It is. They are a real country.
It honestly is still great. It's so funny because it's like, I watch modern South Park and I fucking hate it. I think modern South Park is atrocious and terrible. But it's like you go back and you're like, and it's the kind of bad that makes you think you never liked South Park. Where you're like, man, I hate this. I hate every season worse. Every special is progressively worse than the last. And then you go back and you watch this movie and you know every song by word and you can sing every song by memory. And it's like, God, I forgot how much I love this movie. I love this movie.
Yeah, back when Matt Stone and Trey Parker, stood for something.
And it's just the notion.
Oh, that feels like a thing I shouldn't say on public air and get in trouble for.
Nah, we're controversial figures. Yeah, I know. It's the idea that the hypocrisy of violence is all right, just so long as nobody says a bad word.
Well, shit, and as long as nobody uses naughty language.
And like we had we had Haley on. We talked about this movie.
Part of your Broadway world.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about how good it is in terms of its musicals. It's a parody. Like how many of the musical numbers are just straight parodies of like songs from other musicals. So the opening song is a parody of Belle from Beauty and the Beast.
Yep. The only other one I know is the Les Mis one.
Yeah, the Les Mis one. Yeah. La Resistance is a parody of Les Mis. I'm pretty sure that
very, very much a parody of that.
Gregory, I think he was in Les Mis or Phantom. He might have been Phantom. It might have been Phantom.
Interesting. So, how Canadian would you say this movie is on a scale of 1?
I mean, okay, here's the thing about
what you said.
I'd say a solid 5, because on the one hand,
it's funny that you chose that you chose South Park as a Canadian one, because I almost picked the Stick of Truth.
That's funny.
I thought it, but I was just like, what with having to do an entire show, doing an entire game felt like it would have been a bit much.
Yeah.
But that one, they go to Canada, and a large part of it takes place in Canada.
It's funny because it's like a big thing for me is you could tell when a movie that takes place in Canada or is about Canada is made by Canadians or by someone
Americans
who went to Canada like one time and like throws in some like surface level references, The thing with this is I think it was maybe the first time I was ever agitated by a
stereotype.
By a stereotype. I don't know why. It's just like, no, that's not. No, stop. No, please stop.
It's about diplomacy. It's about respect.
It's about dignity. It's about respect. It's about diplomacy. Fuck you.
What's it about?
Fuck you, buddy. Terrence Phillip will not be released.
You, buddy.
Fuck you, buddy.
Fuck you, buddy.
I don't know. Maybe we do.
Hey, buddy. We gotta go. We gotta go to Tim Hortons.
We talk like this with our flapping heads. I don't know.
With our flappy heads, we gotta go to Tim Hortons.
The day will live in infamy. This is just evolving to us doing quotes from South Park the movie. This day will live in infamy as the
Canadians have bombed the Baldwins.
As the Canadians have bombed the Baldwins. Yeah. I saw on a quasi related topic. I saw a video where it was like, what's a movie you could or two. It was what's a movie that you could pretty much do line by line. This is one of them. And is there a song that you could sing every word to without messing up for like, I think it was like $3 million. Oh no, it was $5 million. And then you could do it with a friend, and you get $6 million. And I'm like, yes, there is. There's many I could do. There's many, and so and most to all of which are in this movie. Like I can do almost all of the songs from this movie by memory.
I can, probably most of them.
Like that's just great, classic movie, really great. It's kind of Canadian. It's pretty Canadian. I mean,
so like what?
Like a happy end.
Like a 7?
No, it's a 5.
Because the top end 10 was like parodying Canada.
No, I have it. I have a 10. I have a couple 10s. We're gonna get to the 10s.
Okay.
This is a 5.
Well, so
this is a 5.
I would have said it was a 7.
It's not an accurate representation of Canada.
No, I know. That's why it's a 7. Because 10 is like, hey, buddy, hi, guy, like, 10 is bad. 1 is good.
Right. You're right. So, okay, fair. I completely messed up my scale.
Because mine, that's why mine was. That's why mine was like a 3.
You're right. 7
or whatever.
It's not even a good stereotype. Like it's not even a good stereotype. That's fair. You're right. I forgot the scale worked in reverse. So yeah, 7. 7 is fair. Yeah, 7.
Okay. That I can respect.
7.
Okay.
Wait. So now maybe I have to go back. Beast Wars 1, Deadly the Dragon 5, Theodore Tugboat. That's a solid 1. That's a 1.
Very, very accurate of Canadian life.
Very, very, very Canadian. Super Canadian.
Okay. And not in a condescending way.
Not in a stare, but that's because that one was made. Those were made by Canadians, so you know.
Yeah. My next one is a movie called Treasure Hounds, which I had not seen before. And probably won't see again.
All right, what's it about? It's about guys who go hunt for treasure.
I mean, here's what I'm gonna say: the dog plays not a very big part in it. Also, I don't know why it's called Treasure Hounds when there's just one dog. It should be Treasure Hound.
Oh, so I thought it was like a bunch of guys who were treasure hunters, and like it was like a hound is like he only knows about a hound
No.
dog kind of way.
So quick summary version of it. Basically, boy and mom moved to town, moved to undisclosed, unknown, irrelevant town. They moved from undisclosed, unknown, irrelevant city. Really, it could take place anywhere. Like they don't they give you a name, but like they don't really say even what country they're in. But it is filmed in Vancouver. And all the actors in it are Canadian.
But it doesn't take place in Canada, or is about Canada.
But it could be in Canada. They don't say it's not. They don't say that it's in America. But it could also be in America because they don't say it's not, and they don't say it's in Canada. So really, it's that's what I mean where I say it's in everywhere. Like, if that makes any sense.
It does. That
But basically, the kids moved because the grandpa died. Also, it irritates me because in this movie they call him Grandpop.
Oh.
Just call him Grandpa. Why are you calling him Grandpop? Just call him Grandpa.
Hey, that's a fun nickname for their grandpa. Don't shame.
No, it irritated me every time. Moved to the town. Grandpa left a treasure hunt for the grandson. It's about finding the treasure. Right. That's really what the movie is. And so the dog is a talking dog, but he's not actually a talking dog. He just kind of like in Babe in the City or whatever, or any other, like where it's like we hear the animal talk, but they don't hear the animal talk.
Got it.
So
they're
like
too cheap to animate or animate mouths to the animals, so the animals talk in their heads.
Probably
not in the budget.
And so like they have Norm Macdonald as the dog, but he doesn't really like the dog talking doesn't really contribute anything. He's really just there so Norm Macdonald can do this commentary, like over top of like just be like, oh yeah, such and da 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 da, and like just have these snarky comments that nobody but him can hear. No, sorry, nobody but him and us can hear, and thus because none of the characters in the movie can hear him, you could just have a dog.
Yeah,
it could just be a dog that's not taught. It doesn't really add anything to it, and the comedy is really not that funny. If I'm being honest, he's not really that. It's just the jokes aren't that good. He's really just. Yeah. So that's really all I have to say about it. It's fine. It's inoffensive.
It's all right.
It just doesn't really benefit from having the talking dog, which is kind of when you read the summary of the movie, the entire thing is like it's a talking dog. It's like, but he's not really. He's not really a talking dog. He's talking to himself. He's thinking. He's a thinking dog, but he's not talking.
He's a thinking, talking dog.
Sorry,
he's a contemplative dog. He's contemplative.
Anyway, that's Treasure Hounds. It's fine. I don't have a lot more to say. I could complain about the narrative things that drive me crazy about it, but it's a movie for children that was filmed in Canada. Probably didn't have a very big budget, and it came out in 2017.
Okay. My last.
It doesn't even have a Wikipedia article. That's how you know what kind of movie it is.
That's real Canadian. My final rapid fire for the week is.
So in terms of how Canadian 3, I guess, or 2, like it's not Canadian really in any way.
I lied. I have.
But it's not a parody. So like on our scale, I guess that would make it a 1.
Yeah. It's not very Canadian. It's just made in Canada. Doesn't
yeah.
Speaking of that, I have 2 more rapid fire. My second last rapid fire.
I have 1 more rapid fire.
It's Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which is have you seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil, Jordan?
I don't even recognize the name.
It's about 2 guys, Tucker and Dale. And they're
against evil.
they um have gone to their cabin for the weekend, and they're gonna fix it. And meanwhile, this group of teenagers, like
Hoodlums.
young teenage, no, like good looking teenagers, have also gone up to this lake for the weekend. And through it's basically a comedy of errors where the uh teenagers the college kids think that Tucker and Dale are these creepy evil hillbillies, and they just keep getting into weird random accidents around them. So it looks like they're killing them, but like they just keep. I saw it's like at one point, um, the one hillbilly is played by Alan Tudyk, um, and he goes to slice it, like he accidentally slices into a bee's nest, and he gets all stung in the face, and he's like running, and he's got the chainsaw over his head. He's swinging it back and forth, and the teenagers see him like angrily coming at them, so they think that like he's gonna attack them. Or like a couple of the college kids, like they like start running him at them with like a javelin, and he trips and misses and accidentally impales himself with the javelin, stuff like that.
That's funny.
And so the guy's like we need to call the police. He's like, what am I gonna say? Like these college kids just showed up at my place and just started killing themselves, like, and
Yeah, this does sound familiar now that you're describing
and he's
it.
like, so the cop shows up and he's like, okay, so these kids showed up, and this is gonna sound crazy, but they just sort of plumb started killing themselves. um, and yeah, and there's a whole mystery involving one of the college kids' backstory, and I don't want to give it away because it's really funny. But it's just a very funny movie that's also very violent, but in like a cartoonish way.
How Canadian is it?
That is the thing. It's one of those ones where doesn't take place in Canada. It most of it was just filmed in Canada. So it was filmed and it was made by I think it was made by Canadians, but it was filmed up in Calgary. So so I guess yeah, on our scale, 1, I suppose. Not super Canadian. Not like I guess its setting and location is Canadian, but doesn't really involve any part of it. I just picked it because I really liked that movie, and I saw it had a Canadian attachment to it. I'm like, I can watch this one, so I did.
Okay. I respect that. I respect your choice, and I respect you for making it. My final rapid fire, I assume you're done?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
My final rapid fire is a movie called Goon, which, in terms of the main character, so picture if you took the innocence of Forrest Gump's Tom Hanks character, and made him look like Stifler from American Pie. And
Right.
you'd have that character where he's a super friendly, nice guy who looks like Stifler and is good at fighting and isn't very smart, and so he usually just ends up getting into fighting kind of situations, even though he's like super nice.
Huh.
That's kind of just what it. So he in the beginning of the movie he's a bouncer, and then people at a skating rink end up seeing him beat the crap out of one of the players that he's there to watch, and then the coach is all like, "Hey, come join our team," and then he ends up in Canada, Newfoundland specifically, if I remember correctly.
All right. Why do these movies always take place? Nothing ever happens on the West Coast in these movies.
So just you wait. Just you wait. I do have a thing that just you wait, Justin. Just you wait. We're not there yet. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
But it's good. It's a fun movie. It is, some would say, gratuitously violent. But I enjoy it for that. And I enjoy it because, like, yeah, it would be easy to make it where it's like the care. And I before I watched this, there's actually a sequel to this, which I would like to watch one day. But before having actually watched the movie, I thought they were gonna make the character like, every other character that the guy that played Stifler is like Stifler.
Kind of.
I thought
dick.
that was, yeah, I thought that's what they were gonna make him, and so to have it be the twist of like, no, he's actually like a very sweet, innocent, like nice guy, is kind of a breath of fresh air for this actor.
Nice.
And so in terms of how Canadian is it, I mean, it's fairly Canadian. It was filmed in Canada. The characters are supposed to be Canadian. The actors aren't, necessarily Canadian, because this also has Stifler, who's American, and it has Jay Baruchel.
Who's
Is he
Canadian?
Canadian?
He is Canadian, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess it's really just the one,
If you want to go
and
back to
maybe
Canadian
other,
television, he used to be on Popular Mechanics for Kids.
and maybe others that I'm too lazy to look up. But certainly the title character, title character is actually American, because he starts in America and he ends up moving to be on the Canadian team.
Yes, he
But
does.
so yeah, I mean, in terms of accuracy for Canadian life, I've never lived in Newfoundland, but I'm gonna say it's a 2.
All right, solid 2. Respect it. Respecting the 2. Respecting the 2. All right. So
That's my final rapid fire.
So it's funny. So I realized I had 3 under I hadn't seen. So I'm like, oh, I think I initially from my hadn't seen I had picked Strange Brew as one of them, but I'm gonna bump it up to to a real quick rapid fire because I don't have a ton to say about it beyond the fact that I mean I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Bob and Doug McKenzie are like Canadian icons for some people, and they're very much when I'm talking like
I think they are. I think they're like our Cheech and Chong.
yeah, or Wayne's. I mean, all the Wayne's World is already pretty Canadian, but they're like they're like Canadian Wayne's World. Like that's kind of just how I kept seeing them. They're just Wayne and Garth, but Canadian.
I mean, from what you've described to me, I don't know them as well, obviously, even though I'm Canadian and I should. But they're a duo pair, 2 comedians who work together. That sounds like Cheech and Chong.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The whole bit is that yeah they're yeah it's the character. It's supposed to be about the character.
Or Randy Feltface, and that other Australian who is also with him.
Sammy J.
That's him.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one that I don't know as well.
The movie itself, it's so very briefly, it's about how Bob and Doug McKenzie are trying to get free beer, and they wind up working at a brewery, which is trying to take over the world by giving people beer that when they tune you to the correct frequency, your mind becomes malleable and they can mind control you. That's the bit. That's what the movie's about. But they feel kind of removed from it. It's just kind of one of those like movies where I'm clearly meant to recognize these characters, and it's meant to be funny on that basis, and it's just not. But they're 10, solid 10, baby. Full. I'm almost entirely positive. You know that stereotype that all Canadians talk like this, eh? You know, we all talk like this. It's all hey. It's about dignity. It's about how everyone,
it's about dignity. It's about respect.
Every Ontario. I think I've discovered that's the Ontario accent because every character that talks like that seems to come from Ontario. But that's
maritime. It's a maritime one too.
They are absolutely that stereotype, that Canadian stereotype. They love beer. They wear toques.
Fucking Toronto.
Yeah, they are Canadian stereotypes.
Because that's a thing that you need to know about us Canadians is us West Coasters hate Toronto and they have no idea we exist.
They have no idea we exist. Yeah, it's entirely one-sided.
Which is part of why we hate them.
Yep. But yeah, it's Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas
and Quebecans.
Yeah, they make fun of Quebecers, but no, it's very much made. It's written by them and it's made by they're Canadian. And it's very much like it's made by Canadians. Like it understands Canada. There's a kind of there's a big part of it that takes place at the CN Tower. It's very odd movie. But yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say about Strange Brew. Yes, it's very Canadian, super Canadian.
Like a 10.
Like a 10 out of 10.
Maybe even an 11.
That is my last rapid fire, Jordan. Let's move into main report. Jordan, do the theme song for main report.
Da 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 da.
No, Jordan, you're wrong. It's the Canadian theme song again. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for.
Oh, I thought we were continuing from where we left off.
We're just gonna skip right here. Oh, Canada, it's bad. We should be ashamed. It's bad. It's gone bad.
It's obviously purely for the bit. It's definitely the bit.
We know the Canadian national anthem. It's for the bit.
Of course we do.
We know the Canadian national anthem. Obviously, we're Canadian. We're not just 2 guys in squirrel costumes pretending to be Canadians.
Oh, I'm 137 squirrels in a man suit.
I'm 200 squirrels in a man suit because I'm bigger and stronger than you are. Sorry, my squirrels are bigger and stronger than yours are.
Anyway, time to
Anyway,
chase that nut and talk about my first have seen,
yes,
which is saved it. I saved it, Justin. You should thank me.
I will not.
Is Gunless. It's a movie called Gunless. It's a 2010 Canadian Western comedy film
And I forgot
directed
I watched
by
until Jordan showed me the trailer, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's from that period of time where we would watch literally anything."
William Phillips and released by Alliance Films.
Yeah, that movie. That movie's
Um,
pretty Canadian. Made by
and
Canadians, takes place in Canada.
it takes place in the Dominion of Canada.
Yep.
It's about, for those who don't know, a Montana kid comes up to Canada and things happen.
Things
That's really
definitely
all you need
happen.
to. That's really all you need to know.
And we're out, everybody. No, that was one of those ones they really pushed it at Cineplex, Canadian Cineplex theaters. It was in their pre-show for like months. They really wanted you to watch it.
Yeah,
And we
I
went to watch
just
it,
remember it
and
always showing
nobody
that one.
watched it.
I just remember them showing that one scene in the previews where it was like, "Welcome to the Dominion of Canada," and
Yeah,
that was like the first part of
pretty
the
sure we
trailer.
were the only ones who watched that movie when it was there.
I can't speak to that. That was back in 2010.
I
That was like
remember watching
that was
that
like
one.
that was like 14 years ago. I my memory doesn't go back that far.
That was a
But
Sunday movie from what I recall.
but talking about this movie, um, you know, it's fine.
It's fine. It's a fine
It's
movie.
fine. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of A Million Ways to Die in the West.
Oh, so it's bad.
It's fine. It's not
Fine.
good.
It's not great.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's not great. It's fine.
It's fine. It's a fine. It's
I
a
mean,
fine movie.
I have to be fair to it. I'm not big on westerns, so it's an uphill battle for me at the best of times.
No, yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. There's things in it to like
I don't
about
know
it.
what
I mean,
it is about like westerns. Westerns don't work with their comedies for some reason. I don't know what it is. I've never seen a western comedy I liked.
I mean,
Sure,
I'm
I
just
don't
not
like
big
most
on
westerns. I just don't like westerns.
Yeah, I'm not
generally.
big on westerns generally.
I mean, either.
But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to say about it. You know it. You've seen it. You
I know it.
obviously have.
I've seen it. Perhaps we should tell the audience, half of which is American, about this movie, this Canadian movie they might not have seen. So
I mean, I did.
It's about a guy who he's a criminal and he goes to Canada. He can't use guns.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I said.
Oh, I tuned out there. That's how bored I was by this movie.
The Montana kid goes up to the Rockies specifically. He goes to a town there. And if you want more of the details, Blacksmith pisses him off. He challenges him to a gun duel, but we don't really do those in Canada. And so Blacksmith doesn't have a gun. Montana kid, basically fixes a gun for him so they could have their shoot up. But along the way, kind of discovers that he likes these people, and then his past catches up with him, and yada yada.
Shenanigans.
And the rest of the movie happens. I don't want to give the whole story away, even though I basically just did.
All right.
Maybe our American audience would have went and found this Canadian movie and watched what I've now spoiled 70% of, Justin. Clearly, that's why I didn't want to do a frame-by-frame recall. Jeez, come on.
So it's funny. I've now realized, I assume that's it. That's it for Gunless?
Yeah, so it's a 2.
I mean, that feels fair because it takes place in Canada. Nobody's a stereotype, but it's fairly Canadian, made by Canadians. That feels fair. I would have gone a slightly higher. I would have said a 4.
There's not really any parodies, though.
That's true.
It's fairly accurate for what 1878 Canada probably was at the time. I wouldn't know. I didn't grow up in the Rockies in 1878, but being that I did learn Canadian history in school, I feel like I'm allowed to say that.
That is fair. That's fair. It's a fair assessment. Okay. Jordan.
The Canadian history that I definitely remember learning, and it definitely is stuck in my mind.
So
John A. Macdonald, he was a Canadian Prime Minister, I think.
I mean, he was the first one.
Exactly, I knew that.
You did,
and you knew that too because you also learned Canadian history.
I mean, I knew that.
But But you know who might not have known that is our American audience, who I've now informed, helpfully.
I did know that because I said it, and then you made you presented a look on your face that suggested to me that you didn't know it prior to that moment of me saying it. But you just said that you did, so you didn't look stupid.
No. That was clearly for the bit.
Oh, okay.
That was for the bit.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Was that it? Was that it for Gunless, Jordan?
That's it. That's it for Gunless. I think we've stretched that gun list as far as we can.
Well, it's okay. Real quick before I move on to my first one I had seen, I will say that movie is really reliant on like one joke, which is, can you imagine if a Western took place in Canada and they weren't allowed to use guns? That's it. That's the joke. That's the whole joke. And that does it work for 90 minutes? I gotta be honest, I don't remember.
Meh.
I've seen it
fine.
and I don't remember.
It's fine. I mean, that's the story of Canadian life.
So,
we've seen it, but we only remember the American stuff.
That is true. So for my first one, I had seen before that I wasn't sure if I had seen it, and then I got about 20 minutes into it, 10 minutes into it maybe, and I was like, no, yeah, I've seen this movie, and I'm gonna compare it to something that I meant initially. Something else was gonna be a rapid fire instead of Strange Brew, but I decided I had more to say about the other thing, so I switched it up last minute. So Fubar 2, Jordan. Have you heard of Fubar?
No, I don't think I have.
No? What about Fubar 2?
I neither. I've never.
No?
Tell me about it.
Okay. Well, Fubar is about these two Canadian guys whose names I'm going to quickly Google while I stall. And they are... Google and Wikipedia said that they were metalheads, but I would describe them as being total morons. But like, not like in like a fun way. Like, I don't know how to describe these kind of guys if you're not Canadian. They're just a particular kind of Canadian. Like, they're real aggressive. Like, they talk real fast.
Would you
want to fuck around and find out? Hey there, bud. Hey there, sport.
Would you say that they maybe come from
log out of the tree, there, bud.
From the province that's second from the left?
Alberta. Jordan, you want to say Alberta? Yes.
I'm trying not to be presumptuous.
Terry and Dean, that's what their names are. Yes.
Because
it takes place. It's very Albertan movie. Like, a big part of the movie is they go to West Edmonton Mall. Like, it's literally a plot point in this movie.
When you describe that particular kind of Canadian, to me, as a Canadian, it connotates a certain province.
Yeah. Alberta or Northern Ontario. Like, just those two.
Which our American audience might not know.
That's basically the Canadian equivalent to, like, the South, essentially. That's Texas, yeah. That's not just, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi.
Calgary had a Calgary Stampede. Calgary Stampede, like they're all about the cowboy shit. So
I just mean in terms of just politically. That's our equivalent to the Deep South. And so yeah, this movie is about how they live in this house and they end up moving to Fort McMurray, getting oil pipeline jobs with their friends, and it's shot documentary style, but like, unlike other documentaries, they never explain the camera crew. They never explain who's filming them or why or for what reason, or like ultimately, because like for example, and this is gonna come back later, but like in The Office, you know what the documentary The Office they're making is about. Like, you know why the camera crew is there, and you know what they're there for. Here,
kind of. Not in the beginning. It's kind of just a thing that, like, from what I remember of the first bit, it's not until like later on, near the end of the show, where they're like, "So are you ever going to actually like release this documentary?"
Right. But the point is they address the fact that why the camera crew is there and why they're being filmed and what the purpose of filming them is. In universe, they're there to make a documentary. They don't say why they're there to make a doc, because obviously it's not a real documentary. These are fictional characters, so obviously they're not really making it. But in universe, they're making a documentary that conceivably people will eventually watch.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Whereas in this, there's no explanation. there's a camera crew and a documentary crew following around these people, but it's never explained why. So there's points where it's presented at points as being like just like a regular narrative. So there's points where characters just talk to the camera, and it's like, who are you talking to? Who are you talking to, Dean? He's just talking to no one. Why is he talking to no one?
And then the camera pans to the side and he's talking to the wall.
Like, what is happening? Why? So yeah, there's only like it's just generally not very funny, and it presents Canadian like a particular kind of Canadian. He's just dumb, and yeah, no, there's only really like one joke in the movie that's funny, and it's there's a bit where I guess in the first one of the characters gets testicular cancer, and just out of nowhere in the third act of this movie, it gets really sad and really emotional, just completely out of nowhere. Like
that sounds not fun.
And so then he ends up getting a surgery to have this tumor on his. The plot point at the end of this movie is that the cancer comes back basically, and he develops cancer on his second testicle, so he has to have the other testicle removed, and he keeps threatening to go to Mexico basically. He's like, oh, I'm leaving for Mexico tomorrow. I'm leaving for Mexico tomorrow, and the implication he's gonna hurt himself, and they keep trying to convince him not to go to Mexico basically. No, you shouldn't go to Mexico. You should go to Mexico. And so the final night, they're having this sort of party, whatever, where it's supposed to be like a going away party that's meant to convince him not to hurt himself. And
interesting.
And he starts to sing at this party, and he sings in this beautiful like heavy metal, like Axl Rose, you know, that kind of 80s hair metal kind of voice, and he can sing now beautifully. Because there's a bit earlier on in the movie where he's part of a metal band and he can't sing, and so now he can sing beautifully, and now he has something to live for. And it's like the one joke. Oh, he can sing this beautiful falsetto because he has no testicles. Like it's like the one funny joke at the movie. Okay, that's funny. That's funny.
Boy.
That is funny.
That's good. That is rich.
But yeah, they're very much a 10. They're like, yeah, they're like the modern day equivalent to Bob and Doug, in my opinion, where it's just like, yeah, it's like one joke, and it's not, for me, it doesn't work. It's like one of those, I start to realize that televideo or whatever, this company must just be willing to produce anything, no matter of quality. Because I was like, this is bad. This is a horrid movie. And it's like, man, I wouldn't want people to like see this and think that's what Canadians are like. Like, this is a reflection of Canada. Yeah, we're gonna get into what this is relative to one of my other hadn't scenes later. We're gonna come back to this temporarily, but that's it. That's all I have to say about Fubar. Just not very good. 10. Stereotypically Canadian, and not in like a very fun way. But like also it's funny. A big thing I noticed with is, and I'm sure you're gonna say the same thing. Like, once again, you can tell when a movie that takes place in Canada is made by Canadians. So like this, very much the guys who make these movies, Canadian. They're very much Canadian. And a big thing with, we'll come back to it. We'll come back to it because it has more to do with the next one. That's it. That's Fubar 2. Bad movie. Not very good. Didn't enjoy it. Thumbs down.
So you said it was a 10.
10. Yeah. Absolute 10.
Okay. So now I couldn't have a Canada Day episode and not talk about a thing that growing up was very near and dear to my heart. It almost made the nostalgia episode. It's Reboot.
It's Reboot. Beboot.
It's Beboot. It's a Canadian animated television series that was made in Vancouver.
So here's the question:
and
is its genesis Canadian? Like, is it a Canadian born and bred idea?
As you were talking about your one that you just wore, I was kind of reading a little more about it, and the idea. Hold on, I had it. I have to go back to development. It was initially conceived in 1984 by the British creative collection, The Hub. And then after 8 years of development, Pearson, Blair, and British creative collective, The Hub.
Huh. Interesting.
And then after 8 years of development, Pearson, Blair, and Mitchell moved to Vancouver, British Columbia to produce the series.
So no, it's not Canadian
So
born.
it originated. The idea originated. It appeared the idea originated in Britain, but like by the time it was actually being produced and made, it was Canadian.
Interesting.
So like none of the stuff like involving it being made happened anywhere else. That was all in Canada. So it
Interesting.
still technically is Canadian.
Interesting.
So I'm not in trouble.
Interesting.
Um, but I mean, it is a when you actually know the history of it, it is a revolutionary show. It was the
Oh
first
yeah.
show like completely CGI, and it's the behind the scenes stuff of it is fascinating because like when you look at the first season and how it was like serialized, they had to have a formula and they were very strict on what was and wasn't allowed. And then by the time you get to like the third season, and the tone of the show and the way that like everything it's about is just so completely changed.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so
By season
different.
2, it was completely dark, completely different.
And I mean, I love all the computer references, megabyte,
Yeah.
or when him and hexadecimal are fused, how he's gigabyte, how his
Kilobyte.
first inclination was kilobyte.
Yep.
I love dot matrix printers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got binomes, which are ones and zeros. You've got hexadecimal, like hexadecimal code. Like so many references. I think even Bob is one, but
Yeah. Bob is
I'm
one.
not. I'm like I don't remember what it is. Or Andrea, which is AI.
Yep.
Mouse, obviously.
Yep.
Fong, which is a type of shader.
Yeah. You've got the.
Enzo, I don't remember what Enzo is.
I don't either.
But yeah, it's a show that's near and dear to my heart, and it is also one of the most infamous, at least probably in Canada, cliffhangers ever.
I mean, that reboot's funny because a lot of people don't realize that it's Canadian. Like a lot of people think that it like they saw it on like Cartoon Network and they think it's American. That's what
But
it.
no, but no, fuck you and your Cartoon Network. It's Canadian.
Yeah, eat shit, Cartoon Network. That is a YTV baby.
Like that's one of ours.
Came from youth television, YTV in the zone.
Baby.
Take your Cartoon Network and shove it up your ass.
So,
That was rude. I
do you have
apologize.
anything? Do you have anything you want to say about reboot, Justin?
Let me think. Other than its post life, which it has not led one. They've tried to bring this franchise back like a ton. There's that point where where Mainframe turned into Rainmaker, and it was man, Rainmaker must have had like because they have not produced. I think they produced like one thing, and it was that Ratchet and Clank movie that just didn't do well.
I thought they got shut down because I don't think the building they had in Vancouver. I might be wrong. Oh no, I think I'm thinking of Radical. That one stopped being one of their offices. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, no, their movie career has not gone exactly the
No,
greatest. That's for sure.
they made that Ratchet and Clank movie which didn't do well, and they were gonna make that Sly Cooper movie which never happened. And yeah, they were gonna make a reboot movie, and it was gonna be based on a fan comic, that they posted online, and it was terrible because it used a bunch of like the characters kept saying modern internet slang that they just wouldn't say. Like at one point,
Yeah,
Turbo is like, "Am I lagging?" And it's like the characters just didn't talk like this. Like it was weird. I
yeah.
didn't like it.
It kind of because the show came out during that mythical time when computers and
The
internet
internet could
weren't
be
owned.
anything.
Well, it wasn't even so much the internet because they didn't really go on the internet. It was more just computers weren't really at that point. Oh, I don't think we had a computer when it first came out.
Reboot. Kind of. That's sort of the beginning of it. It was definitely during that era of time where yeah, like you get that episode of Magic School Bus
Like
where
it was first released September 10th, 1994. We didn't get a computer till 2000.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, it was on the air when we had a computer. But no, that again, it was during
Yeah,
that period, that magical period of time where yeah, like that Magic School Bus episode where they go inside the computer where people didn't know how computers worked. They're like, well, we know how computers work now, and when the internet was decidedly less complicated.
yeah, and it could be whatever they needed it to be for and so yeah, we're not even going to talk about the remake.
You mean the terrible remake you made me watch?
We're not going to talk about the
You
remake
made me
because
sit
that's not
through
because
13 episodes of?
because that's I don't think that's Canadian made.
Yeah,
So
but it's
that's
bad,
not.
and we could talk about
It's
how
not no,
bad
but
it
it's but it's
is.
not but it's not it's not
And
relevant
that
here because it's not.
and that time
This is
you
a
made me
Canada. This is a Canada Day episode, Justin,
and
and
that
that's not
time you
Canadian.
made me
So
watch it.
no, that didn't happen. You're
It
crazy.
absolutely happened. The show is
So
awful.
I've decided I'm gonna gaslight you now, Justin. Starting now.
What?
What? I didn't
What?
say anything.
You definitely said you were just gonna gaslight me.
No, I mean I didn't say I was gonna gaslight you. That's not on film. What are you talking about?
Also, should they bring back reboot? No, I don't think they should.
I don't think you can.
I think
Not
you
not not
can.
have it. Not have it. To me, it's an example of like Short Circuit where it's a product of its time.
Yep.
Leave it there.
Leave it there. Leave it in the 90s where it belongs.
Especially because I believe the guy who played Megabyte passed, and if you can't get me real Megabyte, I don't want it.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't want no Diet Cola Megabyte. I want
But
fully fruity Cola Megabyte.
that's the reboot. It holds up okay.
That is beautiful.
And so what's your last have seen?
So my last half scene is a movie called
Oh,
Going.
also one because it has nothing to do with any human city ever. It's just about a
It's
computer.
just made in Canada. Canada produced. I watched a movie. I rewatched a movie called Going the Distance.
Yes,
Which,
going the distance.
which I think, or other people may know it. It's had a different name. In America, I believe it's called National Lampoon's Going the Distance. It has also been called Canadian Pie. It came out in 2004. It is a road trip movie, and it is probably one of the most Canadian movies I've ever seen. I
Sorry,
guarantee you.
I just want to jump in real quick. For the American audience, I forgot. The F word, I believe, is called something else there.
It wasn't called the F word. Was it called the F word when we saw it? It had a different name.
It was called the F word here. And it was changed. I looked this up because when I tried to find this movie, it was difficult because of this. In Canada and UK, I believe it was maybe not the UK, but definitely Canada. It was called the F word, and it was changed in America so that it didn't get a higher rating.
Got it.
I just don't. I want to say it was. You know what? You keep talking about yours. I'm gonna look this up, and I'll get back to you.
Cool. Going the Distance. So Going the Distance is a road trip movie from 2004, and it's very much a 2004 comedy. It's got all of the 2004 comedy instincts. But for American audiences who I guarantee have never heard of this movie, it's about a man who, a boy, a guy who is freshly graduated from high school, and he is with a girl who he has recently made the whoopee with, and she is leaving to go do a summer internship with a gentleman who is a music producer who is going to the Much Music Video Awards. Now, once again, for the American audience, the Much Music Video Awards are the Canadian equivalent to the MTV Music Awards. They are not how they are presented in this movie, but that's effectively what they are. And so she goes on this summer internship for that, and he decides that he has to marry her. So his friends gather him in their RV, and they go on a cross-country trip from Tofino to Toronto, where they will wind up at the Much Music Video Awards, featuring cameos from George Stroumboulopoulos, which, if you're Canadian, you absolutely know who Strombo is. He was a Much Music VJ. It's got Swollen Members, G.O.B., Avril Lavigne. The soundtrack to this movie is fucking kick-ass. Like, the music is just all great. I think I sent you clips of it. Also, 2004, they're doing stuff, like, practically. So I sent Jordan a really sweet shot of them just utterly destroying this RV with a train. That honestly looks
Yeah,
cool.
you did. You showed me that one. Yeah.
It was honestly really cool. I was like, oh, this is cool.
Sorry to jump back into the F word. In America and Britain, United Kingdom, it was retitled to What If, because the Motion Picture Association of America took issue with the implied foul word fuck in the F word. The MPAA also strove for a PG-13 rating, causing the name to be changed.
All right. Anyway, going
so
the
there's
distance.
a little bit of interesting trivia for you.
Going the distance. Yeah. And it's very much Canadian. They hit a bunch of Canadian stops. They stop at a bunch of Canadian cities. He's from Tofino, which like I guess is way more of a small town than I kind of sort of realized, if this movie is any indication. And it's funny because a big thing with guys in these movies, especially the Canadian ones, the ones that were made in Canada and written by Canadians, it's like the guys are like emotionally complex. So it's like, yeah, they're you know, the one guy, he's just Canadian Stifler. He wears a cowboy hat. He's just Canadian Stifler, where he's saying all the rude things that Stifler would say. You know, he's saying all the bad words, but also he's like, hey man, yeah, that guy's a jerk, and I'm capable of saying I love you to my friends. Like, I know it's the same thing with all the other movies where it's like, oh yeah, we could be rough and tough, but we're also capable of saying we love each other and hugging it out.
Because that's how we roll here.
That's how we roll here. Also, by the way, Jordan, there you go.
I can't see it in my shot.
Unless you want to flash a leg.
I mean, it is a pretty sexy leg, Justin.
It's
a pretty great leg.
But yeah, Jordan, the scale, it's probably a 3 or 4. It's a 5 in the sense that it's very Canadian. Like all the guys are like reasonable and nice and like polite and also. And
would you say it's too Canadian?
There's also a really funny character played by.
Would you?
I mean, no, it's Canadian in a fun way. It's like, yeah, this is what I want people to think, that we're not all like soft, squishy like weenies.
Ned Flanders.
Yeah, we're all Ned. We're not all Ned Flanders. Yeah, exactly. But no, there's a character. There's a side character, a native gentleman who. The only thing I could think that you would know him from, and I don't think you'll remember, the native guy from Free Willy.
Oh yeah, okay, I can picture him.
Yeah, he plays this guy who's working for the guy's parents. He's essentially trying to sabotage the road trip, and he's just really fun. He's really fun. He's really funny. And there's a lot of really fun jokes that are it's just fun. It's R-rated though, so it does get a little you know, a little spicy, if you will. But just overall, just a very fun movie. I enjoyed it. That I'd seen it before. You should watch it. I don't know what it's on. Go check it out. Going the Distance. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay. All right. So now we move into the category of things that I had not seen before. And the first one that we're gonna start with, I've seen a large chunk of the show, but I haven't seen all of it. And that's called Corner Gas the movie.
Yes,
Corner Gas, but it's a movie now, so it's longer. And but really, it still just is Corner Gas. Like
it takes place after the show, but it's like, what are the characters doing now?
It's 5 years after the show.
They're older,
and I mean, yeah, a little bit, but also kind of not. Like when I say it's just the show, I mean you know how like with the I think it was Seth Rogen or Seth MacFarlane is like, if you were ever going to do a movie about a show, it kind of has to do things that the show can't.
Yeah. Otherwise, this doesn't kind of boring.
This doesn't do that. This just feels like an extended episode of the show.
Oh, that's boring.
Like down to the fact, like some of the stuff, it's like, yeah, clearly they have a little bit more of a budget. So like they can have a few extra sets, they can have a few more explosions, like they can have a little bit more than they would have on a TV budget. But just in terms of like visual style and feel, there's nothing that really makes it feel cinematic to me.
How much longer did this come out after the show ended? Because is it like a case of like they came back and they still got it?
5 years. The show ended in 2009, and this came out in 2014.
Okay.
So it was literally the joke of the movie where it's like it's been 5 years or whatever. It's been 5 years.
Huh. And they all still got it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. One of them, Laura, the female cop is pregnant. And I'm guessing maybe in one of the later seasons that I didn't see, she gets married or something, because in this she's married, but I don't remember her being married. But you don't see her husband. But she's pregnant because clearly the actress was pregnant. So I don't know if in the show she marries someone or if that's supposed to be one of the things that like happened off screen. Is she got married in those 5 years and pregnant just so they could excuse the fact that the actress was pregnant?
I gotta be honest with you, Jordan. I've never really cared for corner gas.
I have a nostalgia for it because of personal reasons. But it takes place in Saskatchewan for those who don't know. And it's about as Canadian of a show as there is.
It takes place at a gas station, hence the name Corner Gas.
More of a small town, but yeah, a lot of it takes place in the gas station that the family owns. And so one of the funniest parts in one of the funniest things in the movie is there's this running thing where Brent Butt's character's mom wants grandchildren, and so she keeps trying to set up Brent Butt, the main character, and Lucy, one of the other characters, and at the end of the movie, Brent Butt and like so throughout the show, there's this whole like will they won't they kind of thing where it's like there's clearly feelings there and stuff. And so at the end of the movie, Brent, like there's some one-off joke or something, and Brent kisses her goodbye and gives her a hug, and like the entire bar is like looking at them in shock and going like, what the hell kind of thing, right? And the mom's like, oh my god, this is great, like you guys, da, da, da. And Brent Butt's character is like, yeah, I mean, I asked her out 2 years ago, and like there's been this running joke in the movie that like it's a small town and everybody knows everything about everyone and there are no secrets, and like nobody in town knew that they had been together, even though and that's the joke. And it's just the way that it's done is very funny, and it made me laugh. But it's yeah, it's fine. It's got, like I said, if you've seen Corner Gas the show, this movie is really just more of it's just an extended episode of that.
Did it go to theaters? Like, did it get a theatrical run?
From what I read, it had a limited theater run.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
It.
Because I feel like I missed that. I feel like I would have.
I know. I didn't. Yeah. Film's first public screening was November 25th, 2014 in Regina at Canada Saskatchewan Production Studios. Then there was a gala in Ottawa. Film was screened in cinemas in Canada for a limited run from the 3rd to the 9th of December 2014, later extended to 14 December due to public demand. Right. And then it was screened through Bell Media Properties, beginning with Crave TV and the Movie Network.
That makes sense. Crave TV.
It also aired on the
Canada.
So it also aired on the Comedy Network.
That also makes sense. That's our Canadian equivalent to Comedy
Central. But yeah, no. So that's that. It being a lot like the show, it can be a compliment if you really like the show. But in terms of like a movie pacing, it kind of just.
I like the movie version of the show to do something. Like they have to leave Corner Gas to save the world or something. Like I know we make fun of them raising the stakes for no reason, but it makes the movie more interesting.
Well, the stakes raising in this example is supposed to be like the town's out of money and it's going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be the stakes, but it's not far enough. Weirdly enough, like it's just that still feels like a thing that could happen on the show.
Yeah, over the course of a few episodes, a nice two-parter.
Yeah, like a movie one would be like I don't know. Lucy leaves Corner Gas and Brent and her weren't together, and Brent has to finally admit to himself that he does love her and go after her and leave his comfort zone to do it. And like the movie is about him and his friends, like maybe she moves to America for a guy and like you then go to America. Like it has to be something different.
Or maybe they have to go to another province. Maybe they have to go to British Columbia and there's a British Columbian Brent.
Point being, like, he has to leave the town that the show takes place in, and that you're like it's all the same sets, and it's just it just feels like anyway, I could keep going on and on about that, but yeah, that's the weakest point in this movie, in my opinion. So that's my first have not seen.
Whole
What's your
cast co-
first have not seen?
whole cast comes back. Am I missing
Yeah.
anybody? Good for them. Good for them. Good for them. My first one that I hadn't seen was there's a person in my life who's really into this franchise for some reason, and I never understood why. And having now watched one of these movies, I watched one of the Trailer Park Boys movies, Jordan, and I didn't watch the first one, and I refused to watch the show. I watched the second one, and this is a very enduring franchise, and I'd be
Yeah, I
so
don't get
interested
why.
to know: is it enduring outside of Canada? Like, do people in America or internationally know who the Trailer Park Boys are? That would be, do they have a real broad international appeal? Because like, it's not that they're not funny. Like, and it's not like the movie's not funny. It's just not. It's just I just don't think it's my thing. Like, it's funny because you know how I was like, oh, in Fubar they never explain or really justify why the camera crew's there. It's the same thing in Trailer Park Boys, but in Trailer Park Boys, at least they acknowledge the camera crew is there. Like, the movie ends, they've gone back to jail, and is like, yeah, after we get out of jail, you guys need to fuck right off. Like, you need to go away. And I sort of implied, what's weird is, to me, that implies like this was meant to be the finale, but the franchise is still going on. Like, they did a revival, the show came back, so like, I guess they didn't want the camera crew to go away forever. But no, it has heart. I think that's like, yeah, man, they're rough and stupid and moronic and dumb, but once again, they're still capable of turning to each other and being like, "I love you," like I'm your friend and I love you, and I thought that was really interesting. And then there's the basic. Okay, for those of you who haven't seen the Trailer Park Boys, it's what it sounds like. It's three guys. They live in a trailer park. They're all varying degrees of stupid. Um, they're all bad guys who do crimes. The one guy's the mastermind, and what part of the bit with him is he always has a Cuba Libre in his hand for some reason. And so there's a really funny joke at the end of the movie where the whole thing, it's called Countdown to Liquor Day. And I thought that it was about how they were trying to rob a liquor store, right? Like, based on that title alone, that's what you would kind of think. So that's what I thought it was about. I thought the whole thing was, oh, they're planning some sort of big heist and stealing this liquor store. And no, it's.
I mean, I don't know that I would necessarily. That's one guess that I would have. My other guess would be Countdown to Liquor Day is the countdown to Liquor Day, so they have to go steal from like a bank or something, so they have money for Liquor Day.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that. But no, really, more what it's about is this movie takes place, I guess, after one of the episodes where the three of the main guys get sent to jail, and they've been in jail for 2 years, and they've just gotten out. And the main antagonist of the show is like the superintendent of the trailer park, like their landlord, basically, Mr. Leahy, who I guess in the show is an alcoholic, and he's got a boyfriend named, I don't remember what the name is. It's not important. Named Randy. And since the Trailer Park Boys have been in jail, he has sobered up and cleaned up and is converted and the trailer park into a nice, like, not a home, but like a community, basically like a nice gated community. And he needs one of the Trailer Park Boys trailer because all the septic pipes run under his trailer. But Julian, the Trailer Park Boy, wants it so he can build like a repair shop or whatever because he's trying to go legit. So the countdown to Liquor Day is, as the movie goes on, the guy becomes more stressed out because the Trailer Park Boys are back pulling shenanigans and he can't get this property from them. And he's slowly falling off the wagon. And so Liquor Day is just when he eventually full bore falls off the wagon. So at a certain point, Randy's like, "Oh, it's just been a countdown to Liquor Day," and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." But there's a big climactic moment where he's fully fallen off the wagon. He's at absolute rock bottom, and they're trying to like they've set up this heist where they're trying to like steal from like an armored car or whatever. And he's freaking out on the top of the roof, and he's got a thing for one of the Trailer Park Boys, who, in a fight, his boyfriend has said that he doesn't love him or whatever. And he's like, "Say that you love me. Do you love me?" And he, for some reason, has that fucking Cuba Libre in his hand. Where did he get the Cuba Libre? Is someone just making him the glass? Like, who's fixing him these drinks? Because I'm pretty sure Cuba Libre is just a rum and coke. So he's just carrying around a rum and
drink.
coke.
Oh my god! When you told me this story the other day, I was picturing like he was holding like a toy or a doll or
it's
like
a Cuba Libre. It's like a drink. It's like a rum and coke. I think is what a Cuba Libre.
I didn't. No, I was picturing. So every time you were like, and he has another Cuba Libre. Where is he getting that? I'm picturing him holding like this toy.
No, it's like it's like a drink. It's like I'm pretty sure it's a rum and coke basically.
I had never. It didn't even occur to me that you were talking about a drink. That's so funny.
The movie's called Countdown to Liquor. Anyway.
No, you didn't. When you told me this story during the week, you didn't tell me the name of the movie.
But anyway, so he's got a Cuba Libre. Like, where did you get the Cuba Libre? I don't understand. But yeah, no, it's weird. It has heart. It's dumb and it's stupid, and the humor doesn't always land for me. It does. I think it's funnier than Fubar. But Fubar really wants to be Trailer Park Boys. Like, it really wants to be Trailer Park Boys.
So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how Canadian is it?
I don't know. I honestly, a big part of it takes place in, I believe, Ontario, and like the suburbs of Ontario. So in that regard, it is. And I don't. They don't. I mean, you're familiar with them as characters. Would you say that they're Canadian stereotypes? They feel more American to me than Canadian.
For a part of Canada, I would.
Right, like the Northern Ontario, Albertan part of it, right?
I mean, I'm not going to say yes, but if you choose to interpret that way, then that's probably what you should agree with.
Because otherwise, it feels they feel more like American characters than they do distinctly Canadian. But they do have that. Like Bubbles does have that Canadian, like, drop her on the stick there, bud. You know.
I mean, I don't know. I've met people that I would say kind of align with that.
Yeah, yeah. You know who else I was gonna just real quickly before we wrap up Trailer Park Boys. I liked it way more than when I watched it, I was like, you know what? It's not for me, but I get it. Is how I would put it. I'd be like, it's not for me, but I understand. The person
you can see the appeal.
Yeah, to certain people I can. I've had friends who I get why they like this. The person who introduced me to the concept of this, I don't understand why they like it. It was not in their brand of humor. But like, I
mean, to be fair, sometimes
some things just tickle your funny bone in a certain way.
Yeah. Like sometimes there's a thing that you find funny, which is like absolutely not in your wheelhouse. And I know there are examples for me. I just can't specifically think of them at the top of my head. But
fair enough. Yeah, I picked this as initially I put it in the have watched kind of category, because and this is gonna be my final story. This movie, the reason why I picked this one instead of the first Trailer Park Boys movie was because when I worked at the movie theater, this was a whole thing. Like, people were like sneaking in like booze, like booze. Which, having not seen this movie, is kind of ironic because this movie is sort of more or less about sobriety more than it is about getting wasted. And we had to there was a point where we had to make people line up outside of the movie theater. And we had to check their bags, which in retrospect was not our job. Like, we should not have been doing that. And they had me walk up and down aisles checking people. And I remember the person was one person yelled at me. It was like, yeah, we get it. So I sat there and I remember watching most of this movie. But when I was watching it, I'm like, I don't remember a bit of this. But I was like, I think I watched this before. I'm pretty sure I did. But anyway, that's Trailer Park Boys. Countdown to Liquor Day.
Sorry,
this is our Canada Day special. You need to get more excited.
Oh, I am. I'm very excited.
Canadian Day. Are you even Canadian?
This one is one that I've been excited to talk about because, it takes place in a place that is near to where I live, and it's like, hey, I recognize those places. It's a show called Continuum.
Oh yes, Continuum. The big selling point of which is that it takes place in Vancouver.
Yeah, so I have thoughts, but we're gonna get to them. This is the big one. This is the one that I was planning on doing a lot of time with, which is why I kind of was fast with the other ones. So Cold Notes version, the future is terrible. There's terrorists that are trying to prevent the future from happening. They end up time traveling. Caught from the future also ends up time traveling with them. They end up in 2014 Vancouver.
That's the worst place in history.
That's the Cold Notes version. There's obviously more nuance, which I'm gonna say this right now. I will be spoiling parts of this show because I want to talk about it. Um, so anyone who wants to go watch Continuum spoiler free, go do that. Watch the 4 seasons, and then come back. I have watched all but 3 episodes because I ran out of time, but I'm gonna talk about some of the stuff in the later seasons. Okay. Now that we're past that point, we can kind of talk more. Um, so this show is fun because it starts off being kind of the first season is kind of more of a procedural cop kind of show. Um, and with each episode kind of being the terrorist group does their terrorism thing, and our future cop puts a stop to it. That's kind of the status quo for the first like 2-ish seasons, first season, and then stuff happens. But one thing that I want to say though is that while it does take place in Vancouver, they are the most American Canadians I've ever seen, which has everything to do with the fact that this show, the concept of it was originally created for American television.
Interesting.
The creator was planning to take this to the American market and kind of sell it to them, and you can absolutely feel that influence in some of the characters and the way that they react, which I'll touch on in a second. But basically, the reason why it ended up on Canadian, like being a Canadian one more, was because he had a friend, Pat Williams, who was going in for a meeting with Showcase, and he had nothing. And so the creator, Simon Barry, basically gave him the idea for Continuum to pass on to the executives there, and they all were immediately like, "Fuck yeah!" Like, yeah, we want that.
Yeah. But my question is,
And
why
so
did it end up taking place in Vancouver and not Toronto, like every other goddamn show does?
that I can't say, to be different, I'm guessing.
Oh, maybe.
Um, or probably because filming at the time was probably cheaper in Vancouver.
Oh, maybe.
So for a TV budget, which I'm wondering if it has that here. No, it doesn't. But for a TV budget, if Vancouver was cheaper at the time, it would mean they could get more outdoor shots.
True.
But so over the course of the show, um, the main character wants to keep the future like the same as what she came from, but it's kind of like as the show goes on and it's interesting, you kind of find out it's kind of a terrible future, and she's kind of the bad guy.
Oh
Like
no.
she not like herself in her intention, but the fact that she was protecting basically the future she comes from is run by corporate, like corporate,
Gotcha.
which is why again I say you kind of feel that American influence there, because that's definitely a thing I could see in America more
Yeah.
than here.
Oh yeah.
That and just a lot of the ways that the characters act are eh, it's yeah, if you know, you know, it's they're American. Or the fact that like a character shows up who works for the CFIS, basically our version of the FBI, I guess, which I don't it's not nearly as well known as the CIA. So as a Canadian, even
I believe the
I'm not
actual
really
version of it is CSIS, I think.
whatever it is. I think it is what it is in the show, but because it seems to be fairly accurate in terms of that stuff. But uh, so it has the same opening for the first 2 seasons. Then we get to the third season where one of the characters, Alex Sadler, um, who is a whole thing, but his name drives me crazy because it's like, why couldn't you just call him Alex? Like it's Alec, Alec.
I mean, like
What?
Alec Baldwin.
I guess, but it's just to me is a weird one to go. Anyway, that's a tangent. But at a certain point, his girlfriend gets killed, and so then he uses the time travel stuff to go back in time, and then it's like, I guess this show exists on endgame rules where they're now in an alternate timeline. So anything they do to their past, like anything that happens to their past selves, doesn't interfere with them. So he goes back to change time to save his girlfriend from dying, which then causes a bunch of different like snowball effects, which change things. So then like it basically goes into this really bad future, and even worse future that's further in the future, and further people from the future come back to stop them from messing with the past, and it's
Oh no,
a
I've gone
lot of time
cross-eyed.
a lot of time travel, cross-eyed stuff. But it does lead to this really interesting dynamic where, so pretty early in the first season. Okay, so for simplicity's sake, I'm gonna say there's main character Kira A and Kira B. Kira A is from the timeline that we've been watching since the beginning of the show. Kira B is the Kira from this third season, which is a different Kira at this point. So something that the one character does to change time causes Kira B to get shot in the head. And so Kira A steps into that, like, her life, and retakes over. Meanwhile, Alec, who went back in time, there's now Alec A, who is the one that we've had throughout the entire show, and Alec B, and it leads to this interesting dynamic where there's the two of them in the same timeline, but because they've gone through different experiences, they end up being completely different characters.
Hmm.
Um, so Alec A is the quote unquote good one. And Alec B steps into the role of taking over the Fortune 500 company from his dead dad, and like becomes the villain, and he's a bad guy, and like they end up having to stop him, and it's really interesting to watch. Like, whenever you get an actor acting against themselves, it's just it's very fun to kind of watch that dynamic. Um, and that's not even to mention the fact that, yeah, there's something just inherently enjoyable. And I don't know if Americans get this when they like see a movie that takes place in their city, but when like I live near Vancouver, right? So to see areas in this show pop up where it's like, oh my God, I know that place, or like they mention a city where it's like, I know it, I that's that
Thing I
or like
recognize.
in one scene where Alec is getting a job at a tech like a computer store or whatever, and it's like, that's near Lansdowne. I've been there. I know exactly where that store is. I've walked in there or by there. It's just so trippy, and I don't really get to experience that very much. Where it's like, yeah, things get filmed here, and I recognize it like a lot of the times in movies, right?
Yeah.
But to have it where it's like it's not only filmed here, but it actually is here
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
is so weird. Like, it's so weird where they're like, oh yeah, there's a hostage situation in Surrey. And it's like it's such interesting stuff that has never happened here. Like
Our
it's
criminal
not.
justice system is not this interesting.
No, right? And so and that's where I say like it feels American in that regard.
I know what you mean.
But it's also, you can explain it away because like, yeah, no, this stuff doesn't happen here, but it's happening because the time travelers came back and
Yeah.
are making it happen, right? So
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. I have 3 more episodes, and I fully intend to finish it. But
All right.
for anyone who hasn't watched it, it's on Amazon Prime. And I recommend it. In terms of its like how accurate it is to Canada, I have to give it a 1 because it's so American.
Fair. That is fair. That is fair.
Like I could tell in his original pitch of this, like the city that it was in was probably
He
L.A.
just
The,
scratched out L.A.
the
and put in Vancouver.
yeah, like the CSI guy who shows up, or our version of the CSI guy was
Surrey.
definitely just
Like Sacramento.
yeah,
Surrey.
was definitely just a CIA guy. Like, I could feel like the one police chief who ends up being a whole other, he's a whole thing. He just feels very like And again,
America.
I haven't spent a lot of time with police officers, so maybe the Vancouver Police Department is a lot like that. But it just reminds me of a lot of like shows like not CSI,
Law and Order.
Law and Order, like where yeah, procedural cop, where
Yeah.
or even Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
Yeah.
where it's like it connotates a certain kind of country.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
But I'd be interested to if the audience went and watched it to know if they would agree with with that assessment, especially any Canadian viewers that we have. To go and watch it and let me know if they agree that it feels American. But I could talk about this for a lot longer, but that's the stuff that I really wanted to hit on. So why don't you just go ahead and tell me about your last have not seen, Justin?
For my mustache, it's turned up. I'm ready to talk about my final movie. No, my final movie is a movie called Canadian Bacon. It's got John Candy. It's got Kevin Kline, not Kevin Kline. Basically, the movie's about this president who is failing, and he's pretty convinced he's not going to get a second term because he's created a world that is too peaceful. And he decides, or rather, one of his aides decides, that in order to get reelected, he needs to create what is essentially a new Cold War with a new nation. And so initially, they try to create this Cold War with Russia, and Russia is not going for it. They're like, no one's going to believe that. And then they decide that they are going to create a Cold War with Canada. And so then they create this big campaign of like propaganda that makes everyone hate Canada. And it's very strange because it really reminds me of South Park the movie, where like it's like everyone's
Yeah, as you're describing it, I couldn't help but think that.
And it's really weird because like the Canadian actor Anne Murray must have been a popular person in the 90s, because if I had a nickel for every time a movie made a joke about Anne Murray, I'd have 2 nickels, which is not a lot, but it feels weird that it happened twice. But it's like, yeah, scenes of like
in one podcast episode.
Yeah, one podcast episode. And it's very funny because there's a bit where they're like, and the Canadian may be among you, and it's just like a list of like Canadian actors like Rick Moranis and all these different ones.
Take your Canadian friends to the happy death camps. Did I say death camps? Did I say death camps? I meant the happy fun relocation camps. Take them now.
And so the John Candy, he plays a sheriff in New York, Niagara, New York, which is right beside obviously Toronto, and he believes all this propaganda and decides that he needs to be on the front lines to take down Canada. And so they end up breaking into Canada to try to do something to disrupt their power. And they break into their power grid, and it turns out it's just run by 2 like this really nice old couple. And like every single Canadian they run into, like they run into these Mounties who just like speak with the Queen's English and are really like articulate. And every single like there's a bit where she gets arrested, one of the girls gets arrested, and she winds up in a hospital. And
bless you.
With these 2 young people, and she's like, "Oh, you seem too young to be doctors." Like, no, we're not doctors. Our universal health care has detected that there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You have no illness, but would you like to have your kidney removed and replaced for free?
That's accurate.
And it's really just a movie made by a guy who went to Canada one time, and like he went to Toronto once, and he saw like they refer to the CN Tower as the Canada National Tower. And I'm like, I guarantee you, if you were to ask some kid in like BC what the CN Tower was, they'd have no idea. So I'm like, I wouldn't really call it the Canadian National. It's just like you went to Toronto once and you heard someone call it the Canadian National Tower, and like you have interpreted it as some sort of Canadian national symbol.
Yeah, we don't really have one of those.
No, not really, no. And it's just funny because
ours is like beavers and maple syrup.
And it's just like that stereotype of Canada of like we're all really nice and polite, we have free healthcare. And I'm like, this person has like this one image of Canada, and I'm reading about it, and you'll never guess who wrote and directed this movie, Jordan.
Was he an American?
I'm not gonna tell you one way or the other. Try and guess a name. It is no one you're expecting. And I'll give you one hint. He pretty famously makes documentaries.
Michael Moore.
Yes. Michael Moore wrote and directed this movie. And once you find that out, yeah. So you've heard of Canadian Bacon, right? I'm positive you've at least heard of it. I don't think you've ever seen it, but I know you've heard of it.
Probably at some point, but off the top of my head, not specifically.
I know of it because of my dad. My dad is one of those movies he always told me about, like all the time, because he loves John Candy. He was like, yeah, Canadian Bacon, the movie where they decide to invade Canada and it doesn't go well. And it's like, once you know it's made by Michael Moore, you could just see his politics all over it. You're like, oh yeah, he thinks that America, because the whole thing is like the American media immediately propagandizes and turns the country immediately, unquestioningly against the Canadian government and Canadians, and they're all just like prejudiced and like racist towards Canadians, and like they're
nationalist.
Yeah. And it's like, it's funny because all this stuff, this movie's made in 1995, and the concept of like America being turned against Canada is presented as like this inherently ridiculous thing. But a lot of the language and a lot of the ways that the American officials are talking in this movie are like, yeah, people talk like this now. Like,
yeah, I was just gonna say that really doesn't sound like that far off.
No, it's not really that impossible of a thing. Oh, like you laugh. Oh, it's inherently ridiculous that Americans would be prejudiced towards Canadians, but is it?
No, it's really not.
Is it? I don't think it is.
Especially a specific segment of them.
Right. I don't know. Maybe I'm off. Maybe our American friends would disagree. Maybe they would disagree. I don't know.
I'm not going to make wide, broad, definitive statements one way or the other. But all I'm going to say is the other guys are wrong. Whichever side you're on, the other side is wrong.
See, I would have said, I see, Jordan. I'm going to say, I'm going to come back at you, and I'm going to disagree with that, Jordan. I'm going to say that whatever side you're on, that's the right one. Whatever side that you the person listening or watching this, whatever side you're currently on, that's objectively the correct one.
Clearly, you're out of control, Justin. I agree with whatever that guy said.
I you know what? I disagree with whatever that guy said.
Well, then you need to be stopped, and I will be the one to do it.
I will never be stopped. I cannot be stopped. But
next episode, it's just gonna be me. Yeah, you'll see.
It's gonna be me, just an empty chair. But no, it's a funny movie. I was just surprised. It's one of it's like, I think it's the only movie he ever made that isn't a documentary. And I'm just like, really, Canadian Bacon? So weird. John Candy's great in it. Everyone's funny in it. It's really good. Really quite a funny movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
I'm going to say 10 in the stereotypical sense. Because, yeah, there was a lot of Canadian stereotypes in there that just weren't, I don't know how true they were.
Interesting.
But I think that's it, Jordan. I think we've hit the end of our Canadian special. Our reasonably sized, don't get your hopes up Canadian special.
Yeah, with my red shirt, that definitely has everything to do with Canada.
I mean, with my red shirt.
And not ketchup.
Mine has everything to do with Canada and not Spider-Man. You cannot see the Spider-Man. See?
No, I can't see the logo on yours.
Exactly.
But you can see it on mine.
So, Jordan, with that, we have to do the assignment for next week. And Jordan, being as this was Canada Week, only feels right that next week we do the 4th of July! That's right, next week we're doing Independence Day, 4th of July, America! Whatever movie makes you go, America! Fuck yeah, we're gonna be doing it late. It's not happening on the 4th of July, because we don't get the 4th of July off. Just like I know our American friends don't get Canada Day off. We don't get the 4th of July off, so it's probably gonna be a couple days late. But 4th of July, Jordan, movies that make you go, America, fuck yeah.
Okay, I guess if I have to.
You have to.
I'm far less excited about it than Canada because they're second fiddle.
I mean,
there's a reason why they're below us on the map.
Jordan, we have American friends, Jordan. What are you doing? You're alienating our American audience. Half of our audience is American.
I'm simply saying that our country is number one.
I mean, it's hard to argue, certainly, that their country is beneath us on a map.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It is geographically, it is below us on a map.
Absolutely. America is deeply beneath us Canadians on a map.
I don't think anybody could argue.
I don't think you could argue that America is beneath Canada. Don't. No one take that out of context. But no, seriously.
Everyone take that out of context.
Seriously, America next week. Look forward to that. That's going to be fun. Thank you for everyone for joining, whether it's not on Canada Day later or on Canada Day, for joining us for our Canada Day special. I can't speak for Jordan. I'm going to go eat a poutine. Get real Canadian. I'm going to put my face in a poutine.
And just remember, ladies and gentlemen, when in doubt, Goosebumps.
Goosebumps. Donate to Goosebumps. Thanks to Goosebumps for sponsoring this episode. As always, go support the Kickstarter. We want to go to Indiana, so go support the Kickstarter. We want to have a little table at a convention. That's the dream. So we can't do that. We can't live our dreams. If you support the Kickstarter, we get to live our dreams of potentially doing a live version of this podcast. One day.
One day.
But we'll see you next week, y'all, with our American special. Maybe our American friends are invited. They can come on by. It'll be fun.
Yeehaw! Bye, y'all.